everyone, it's Brennan. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog. I will just tell you all a little bit about my life right now. I'm off today. It's a Tuesday. It's June 22nd. It's my dad's birthday. And starting tomorrow, I will be working 21 out of the next 22 days. I work 14 days, then I have a day off, then I work 7 days. So I'll be a little bit busy and I probably won't take the time to do any sit down film videos. Not that I've even been doing a lot of those lately. I guess I'm in a filming slump. I'm in an editing slump. I should have a video going up today. It's my romance-a-thon reading vlog, so if you're watching this video, go ahead and check that vlog out after this. This summer, it's probably just gonna be a lot of vlogging, and that's okay. And this vlog isn't for any particular readathons, but I have a few new release books. Why am I just sitting here holding the cap to my camera? But I have quite a few new releases. I have 4 to be exact that I really want to get to very soon. I'll go in the chronological order that they've been released. But my hold for Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid just came through with the library. I picked the audios for most of these just because it's the fastest way that I can read books. So I have the audio for Malibu Rising, and that came out May 25th. And then I had pre-ordered a copy of One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I have not read her other book, Red, White, and Royal Blue, but I have it and I hear great things about it. I've heard mixed things. Mainly I've heard Kirsten from Kirsten's Corner give her slightly negative opinion about this book, but her negative opinion, she always starts it by saying that she doesn't believe in astrology and fate in the universe. So I'm guessing that plays an important role in this book, and I'm kind of interested in that stuff. I'm kind of into it. So who knows? Also, this is a pretty chunky book for a romance. I believe this would be classified as a romance, but it's 400 pages. And then also from the library, I have the audiobook of The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, who is the author of The Silent Patient, which was super popular. I think it came out in 2019. I think it might have been the Goodreads thriller of 2019. Or was it last year in 2020? I'm not sure. But I was not the biggest fan of The Silent Patient. It was okay, and I didn't predict anything really, which looking back I probably should have. But I just wasn't into it, and I think it comes from me not liking the characters, and I just didn't really care about anyone. But I'm trying to tell myself that that's okay. You don't have to like characters to enjoy a book. But The Silent Patient was a little underwhelming for me, especially when you have these books that are so hyped up and are getting awards and stuff, and then you read them and you're just oh yeah, that was fine. That was a book. It was fine. I gave it 4 stars at first, but then I actually ended up putting it on my most disappointing books of 2020 video, which I'll link below. And then I went back and gave it 3 stars just because my brain wants to say, oh, someone wrote a book, you should give them 4 stars because writing a book was hard. You should at least give them 4 stars. But it's fine for me to have mildly negative opinions. It's just hard for me sometimes. But I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was fine, but I got to the end of The Silent Patient and I was just oh, okay. Wasn't blown away or anything, but I was still super intrigued to pick up his new release. And then the last book that I would like to read, and another book that I have the audio for through the library, is Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams, who is the author of No Exit. I read No Exit, was it early this year? I just know it was snowing when I read it. It was early this year. Yes, I think it was early this year. It might have been late last year. Anyway, I really enjoyed No Exit. It was a thriller that I really liked. I'll link videos below where I talk about these other books by these authors that I'm mentioning here. But like I said, I have the audio for this and I'm super excited. And those are the 4 books. The genres are Malibu Rising is probably literary fiction. One Last Stop is probably romance. It is romance. We're reading it also for the Sugar and Spice Book Club. If you hear chomping, my cat is having lunch. And then The Maidens and Hairpin Bridge are thrillers. So some different genres we have going on here, and I just wanted to read some new releases while everyone else was reading them because that's the most fun way to read books. So stick around, and I'm going to start with The Maidens because I'm actually already 80% into it. So stick around and I will give you a big update, maybe just a whole review on that book coming very soon. We are just coming out guns blazing, and I've already finished one of these books. I finished The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, and I will start this by saying I do feel like I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed The Silent Patient. Right now, it has a 4-star on Goodreads for me, and let me tell you, what this book is about because I had no idea when I was going into it. So our main character is a psychotherapist. Alex Michaelides, his background is in psychology, I think. So his characters tend to be like psychologists. Okay, he's had 2 books and his 2 main characters have been psychotherapists. Also, this is like British. So like it's a British thriller, and I just haven't really found a British thriller that I have vibed with. So like recommend me some down below. Anyway, the plot of this is our main character, Marianne. She has been dealing with the loss of her husband, and she has a niece named Zoe who is in college. I think she's in college. She's like 19. And there's this professor at her college who has kind of like a fan club / study group of girls called the Maidens, which is really messed up. That in itself is just really messed up. And throughout this book I was like, why is the college like not concerned about this to begin with? Anyway, one of them is found dead, and then Marianne goes to be with Zoe because she was friends with that girl. And they're like arresting the wrong person, and like Marianne kind of feels like she should say something because she's a psychotherapist and she understands people. She does like group therapy specifically. And something I really enjoyed about this is he kind of did the same thing that he did in The Silent Patient, where he goes back and forth between, we have our main character and then we have writings from the perpetrator. I'll just say it's the perpetrator. In this book, we have writings from this man, and we don't know who it is until the end. And I think Alex Michaelides did a really good job of making you think it was different people. Like, I was completely convinced it was like 2 or 3 people throughout the whole book. And just like The Silent Patient, I didn't see the twist coming. I enjoyed it pretty well. And one more thing that I really liked was he tied in The Silent Patient. Like, we got some cameos of characters from The Silent Patient. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. Like, at first I was like, no, please don't. Let's leave that book where it is. But I appreciated it. And I won't be mad if in his other books he cameos some characters from this book, because I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. But anyway, like, more of the maidens, it's just so disturbing. More of the maidens keep dying. And Zoe and Marianne are trying to figure out who's doing it. And I was satisfied with the ending. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't see it coming. But where I don't feel 100% with this book was the characters. I just didn't like anyone. It's not even that I didn't like them. It's that I felt nothing towards them. Like our main character, Marianne, I didn't care. I didn't care about her. Our side characters, like, I didn't really care about them. And that was my thing in The Silent Patient too, was that I just didn't care about anyone. Not even that I like actively disliked anyone. I just didn't have feelings for them. But I still gave this 4 stars. 3.75. It was good. I enjoyed the ending. That's important to me in book. And our first book completed for this vlog. And now I think I'm going to start listening to Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is another book that has some tie-ins. It has tie-ins with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I read early last year. It might have been the first book that I read in 2020. It was up there. It was close. I read it in January of last year. So it's been a while. It's been a year and a half since I read Evelyn Hugo. But this book follows the Riva family. And Nick Riva was one of Evelyn's husbands. And I guess he has a big family, and they go to Malibu, or they have a house in Malibu, and we're there. I'm not gonna lie, Malibu Rising keeps making me think of like astrology and like people's rising signs. That's completely unrelated. But I heard that this book takes place over one night. I don't know if that's true or not, but I am excited to read it. Glad I have the audiobook. That's how I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. So I'm just continuing on with my Taylor Jenkins Reid audiobooks. So here we go. Haven't really read any literary fiction lately. I guess The Last Apothecary maybe was the last literary fiction book I read. I'm just on it with these new releases. I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be on it with the new releases. But stick around. Let me know if you read The Maidens, what you thought about it. Hello, I finished another book, and this book is going to be one of my favorite books that I've read in 2021, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And just for some reference, I have read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six, and I liked Malibu Rising more than either one of those. I gave both of those books 4 stars. Malibu Rising is a solid 5-star, and I did not really know what this book was about going into it, but it is very much like Taylor Jenkins Reid's other historical fictions. This follows Mick Riva. I think I said Nick Riva in my other clip. But this follows the family of Mick Riva, who was one of Evelyn Hugo's 7 husbands. And I think I mentioned that it's kind of over one night. And that's the present timeline. So we have a present timeline and then we have a couple like past timelines. And present day, it's like the early 1980s. And we're following Mick Riva's family, mainly his 4 children. Nina, who's in her mid-20s, Hud and Jay, who are just like a year younger than Nina, and then Kit, who is like 20. So these are his 4 children, and Mick Riva is a super famous, like, in this world, he's super famous. But how Taylor Jenkins Reid writes, she will make you want to like look up these people, and like she describes these historic moments and you completely believe that they happened in the real world, but they have only happened in her historical fiction world. But it's such good writing, the way she does this. So good. But Mick Riva got famous in the 50s, the 1950s, singing, and he has just become like super famous, ultra famous. But before he started his career, he married a woman named June, and her family just like has this beachside restaurant, just like super low-key, they fry everything restaurant. And June does not want to continue her family legacy and keep running this restaurant. That is like not what she wants for herself. So she kind of wants some fame. She lives in Malibu, they're in California, and she's like always hoping for some fame, and she meets Mick as he is trying to also climb his way to fame. So they get married, they have their first 2 kids together, and then he runs off. He is a womanizer. He cannot resist women, cannot do it. But we're following the timeline in the 50s and then like kind of progressing through the early years of the Riva family, and then we are also following our present day timeline where the Riva children are throwing an annual party. They always throw this party, and each of them is now kind of having their own personal issues. And I don't want to say too much. I want you to find out their issues that they're having. And I don't even know how to describe why I liked this book so much, but I loved it. It was just tragic enough for me. It was entertainingly tragic. I wanted to cry at the halfway point and then at the end of the book, and I think that's a very appropriate amount of crying for historical fiction. The air just came on, so I'm sorry, but I'm wrapping this up. Our Riva children are very much in the 1980s surfing community. Like that is how they have been supporting themselves, is by surfing and like taking pictures surfing. And it's super interesting. I did not have interest in this period. I don't have any interest in surfing. I've never even been to Malibu, but I loved this book. Like I said, an appropriate amount of crying, an amount of crying that makes you feel good. And I just loved this story. It's just following famous people's lives, kind of famous people. I don't know. I don't really have that much to say other than it was so excellent. I loved it so much. This and Cersei have just been like top tier books for me in 2021. And I'm super excited that I got to read this pretty soon after it released. And I apologize for only updating you on books after I have finished them, but you know, I'm just kind of going with it. And these have been really hard to put down. Oh, also, Julia Whalen does the audio for Malibu Rising. I think she was also in Daisy Jones and the Six, and she might have been in The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo too. But just so good. Her voice is just very nice. I don't know. That's all I have to say. But now I am 25-ish% into Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. I hope I said Hairpin Bridge in the intro. I keep wanting to say Hairpin Curve. Anyway, Taylor Adams wrote No Exit, which got super popular. I guess it came out last year. And I was watching Caroline Johnson's videos, as I do. I'll link her channel below because her brain is really good. She's really smart with literary stuff, and she was talking about how No Exit is basically good versus evil, and how Hairpin Bridge is also basically good versus evil. So in Hairpin Bridge, we were following a girl, her name is Lena, and her twin sister has committed suicide. At least we think she has committed suicide. That is what the official ruling of her death is, and it was by jumping off this hairpin bridge in Montana. So we're in like rural Montana, And we start the story with Lena going out and meeting with the cop who found her sister's body. And there's just some stuff that is off with the cop from the beginning. And she's just having these super uncomfortable interactions with him. And they're like driving out to the bridge to like look at the place where her sister died. But this story is told in a really interesting way, and it's kind of confusing me just a little bit, like just a little bit confusing me. But Lena has a blog, and we have a dual, I don't want to say dual timeline, but we have two perspectives, but they're both Lena. But one is Lena in the moment when she's like meeting with the cop and doing all the stuff, and the other is Lena as she has written the story of her sister's death on her blog. So in her blog, she's like recounting herself meeting with this officer, I think is what she's recounting on her blog. And she's like done some research of her own on her sister's death. I think 25% in, and that's what I think is happening here. But I'm listening to the audio for this too. It actually has two different narrators, which is interesting because I think they're both Lena's voice, but one is for her current situation and the other is for her blog post. But I think they're both Lena, but it's two different actors. I don't know. I'm trying really hard, okay? I'm paying really close attention to this so I don't miss anything. But I really like our setting in super rural Montana. Oh, I got so stressed out. I just got back from work and I listened to audiobooks when I walked to and from work, and I was like panicking at one point around like 20% in this book. Like broke out in a sweat, and I was like, we're only 20% in and I'm already like hyperventilating over the actions in this. So stick around, stay tuned, I'll let you know how it goes. So I went for a run after that last clip, and I have decided that I just did not gush about Malibu Rising enough. And I want to talk about Nina, the eldest daughter of McRiva, and one of our main characters, and I just wanted to talk about how much I loved her. And I mentioned this in one of my other vlogs, in my Romanceathon vlog, and I don't know what it is, but lately I'm just feeling the books where our characters' parents are our enemies and we can just hate them. And that's this book too. Like, you hate McRiva. You hate McRiva for what he has done for his family, and you love Nina for the support she has shown her siblings and her mom and just everything she does for them. It's just so good, so good. That was probably the main thing that I loved about that book. But I loved a lot about that book, like a lot, like all of it. Like, I could not stop listening to it. So good, seriously. 5 out of 5 stars, maybe more. But also, I thought it would be fun to show you some of my plants. Like, I'm just a plant person. I don't know what it is. I feel very connected to them, and I've kept a lot of plants alive for a long time. I actually haven't bought a new plant in like 2 years, and all the plants I have are just, they're survivors. And I thought I would give you a little tour of the plants that I have just outside. This big boy is I think it's a ficus, a burgundy rubber tree. But look at these fresh, new, shiny leaves. Look how big this one is. I'm like so proud. Whenever I got this, it like lost a lot of leaves at the base of it, but it loves being outside so much more than it does inside. And look at all these like fresh new leaves it's putting out. I'm proud. I'm just a proud plant parent, okay? And then this big, huge aloe plant, I got it when it was like 50 cents at Lowe's, and it was just like dying. It was so tiny. But now it's just like so monstrous. I really don't know what I'm gonna do with it after the summer, and I have to bring it inside. And this cute little guy is, I think it's a type of peperomia, like peperomia obligata or something like that. And then this cactus, I think it's a type of like mammillary cactus. It gets really pretty like flowers on it in the spring. This is a jade. It like fell off of it fell off of this jade plant. It was one of the leaves on here, and yeah, it just started growing. This is another type of mammillary, I think I'm saying that right, mammillary cactus. It still has some cute little blooms on it. That's a bunny ear cactus. And then these, oh my gosh, I need to like trim the head off of this. This is some type of succulent, and I think people call it a topsy-turvy. But you can see he is like so elongated, and I need to clip that off and put him in a new pot like I did this little cute one here. and then another type of succulent that I don't know, and another type of, these are probably both echeverias of some sort. This is just like a random string of bananas that is like, I need to repot also. That's a jade. This is a domino cactus, and it had a really pretty bloom on it recently. I'm gonna insert a picture because it was so pretty. And this is a random succulent that I don't know. And then one of my aunts just a couple weekends ago gave me these like little prickly pears. They're from my great uncle's mom. So these are from like 100-year-old cactus, and one of them just started blooming today. So cute. But yeah, just this big planter of, I think these are prickly pears. I'm not sure. I might be making like all these names up. These are Peperomia nevadas, and one of our dietetic interns like 2 years ago got me, it was probably one that was like this size, but now that one's this one, and this one has come off of that one. And then just another aloe. This is, I think this is a money tree. I'm not sure. It has like the cool braided stem that I'm trying to continue with, but it's hard. I'm not like a botanist. Not that you have to be a botanist to be a plant person, but my grandparents got me this one for my birthday a couple years ago, and it's still alive. And then these are like my garden plants. These are cherry tomatoes, and we have a couple little tiny ones that are wanting to start growing. I hope they do okay. I've only tried to grow garden plants one other time in pots, and it did not go well. This is just a regular tomato. Some basil, some different peppers that are trying to start doing a little bit. Also, it's windy, so I'm sure you can hear that on this camera. Oh, look. That's a jalapeno that's starting to, hopefully that doesn't just die and fall off like my vegetables have done in the past. And then these are bell peppers, and then just more tomatoes. This poor little guy I got at Lowe's, he was just like dying. I think it's a type of Dracaena, but he died even more recently with me. But you know, we're trying. He's just getting some character. He's putting out a little bit of new growth, but yeah, you know, we just have fun. We just have fun here. We don't take things too seriously. But yeah, this is my little garden. I hope you enjoyed. But what am I reading right now? Oh yeah, Hairpin Bridge. So stick around. That's still going. Still stressful, but you know, that's what we sign up for with these thrillers. I have another update for you. I have finished another book. I finished Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams, and I'm going to try not to sound dramatic about this because I don't feel dramatic about this, but this is the lowest rating that I've given a book so far this year, and it's July. We've made it over halfway into the year so far, and I have not given a book less than 3 stars, but I gave Hairpin Bridge 2 stars, and I feel like I wrote a pretty good Goodreads review on it. I have my Goodreads linked below on all these videos if you want to go be friends with me on there. What I didn't like about this book, what I'm going to tell you, these things I did like in No Exit. I think I gave that book 4 stars when I read it earlier this year or late last year. So Hairpin Bridge, like I've probably mentioned, is following a twin, and she is trying to figure out the mystery behind her twin sister's suicide. She doesn't think it was a suicide. So she is confronting the cop who found her, and they drive out to Hairpin Bridge, and Lena, the twin that we're following, she is saying that she needs to like see it, and she wants to talk to the cop to work through her grief, which she has a lot of. Like, she has a lot of grief that she's dealing with. She and her sister weren't particularly close. They're in their like early 20s, like maybe they're 23, 24, and she hadn't spoken to her in like a year, so she's dealing with like some regret just with how they were living, and she thinks this cop had something to do with her sister's death, so she is confronting him. And this might be like mildly spoilery, but not really spoilery at all. But in No Exit, that book takes place over one night. And I enjoyed that in No Exit. It like kept me on my seat, kept me invested in the story. And Hairpin Bridge probably takes place over like maybe 3 hours, like an afternoon. But there's another there's another timeline where Lena, the twin we're following, is blogging about her confrontation that she had / is planning to have with this cop. And the timeline was kind of weird. Like, the blog perspective was kind of weird because it was Lena's voice, but she was writing her sister's story, but also including her past / present / future observations. I didn't vibe with that. That's how I'm gonna put that. But our present day story takes place over like 3 hours for the whole book. And I felt like the whole 3 hours, Lena was just pointing a gun. And this wasn't even like something would happen and then she would point the gun. It was literally the entire gun pointing, like the same standoff with her, just broken up, but perpetuated for the whole book. And it was making me really tired. Like, it was making me really tired. And it was just like so implausible. And like, yes, this is fiction. And like, I have a pretty high tolerance. And at baseline, I'm a pretty gullible person. But I have a high tolerance for fiction. But this was just too, it was just like so unlikely. And I was just like, oh my gosh, really? So like, in No Exit, this thing keeps happening. I don't want to spoil that book either, but if you know, you know. There's like a window, and like, it's a really convenient window for our main character. And I kind of laughed at it in No Exit, and I was like, that window again. But things would happen in Hairpin Bridge, like guns jamming, and I'm like, oh, how convenient for your story here. But like, Hairpin Bridge was making me sweat. Like, this book was making me sweat starting at the 20% mark, and then I didn't really recover. But I was like exhausted. I was sweating and I was exhausted, and I hope this description makes you feel like you were right there with me, sweating and listening to this book. The audiobook was like fun, but I gave this book 2 stars. I was not about the story. I was not about the characters. Didn't like Lena, didn't like the cop, didn't like her sister who was dead. I don't know if that's harsh, but also, do you like my shirt? It has a skeleton sitting with some plants, and it says, "In my happy place." I feel like this shirt embodies me as a person. But anyway, I don't want to say I was disappointed. I didn't have like super high expectations like some people might have for this new release, but I guess so far it's my least favorite book that I've read this year, which I don't even feel that strongly about it. I just didn't like it, and I couldn't give it 3 stars because that's pretty neutral, and I didn't like it. So 2 stars. But we will move on to the last book I'm going to talk about in this vlog, and this is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. She wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, which people love, and I have not read, but this is her new release, and I am almost 100 pages into it. This is a pretty long book. It's over 400 pages. And I have heard such mixed opinions. Okay, maybe not mixed opinions. Mainly, I have heard lackluster opinions about this book. But 85 pages in, and I'm really, really liking this. So my friend Kirsten, I'll link her channel below if I haven't already mentioned her in this vlog. She read this book and she was like, yeah, I just don't believe in like astrology and fate and cosmic things. And when she was saying that, I was like, I may love this book. So here I am 85 pages in and really loving this book. Let me tell you what it's about. We are following our main character, August, and she has moved to New York, and she takes the Q every day. I don't know if that's like the real thing in New York, the subway. And she meets this girl named Jane on her commute every morning. You got that? So August has a really interesting like family life history. So she comes from a single mom household, and August's mom had her brother go missing in like the 1970s. So I keep wanting to say Alex. Why am I wanting to say Alex? So August's whole life has been centered around, we have a visitor, a very fluffy, cute, precious visitor. But anyway, August's whole life has been spent trying to help her mom solve this cold case. So she has like developed ways of thinking, like from her childhood and now into her mid-20s, early mid-20s, she has developed these ways of thinking that are like very deductive. And she thinks it makes her weird. She doesn't feel like she connects with people, and she's kind of a loner. And now she's kind of like college hopping, trying to find the right fit of college and city for her. And she moves in with some super quirky roommates in New York, and she starts working at this super quirky pancake house. And she is just living her life right now, just trying to make ends meet in New York. Mind her own business. She wants to mind her own business, but her new friends that she's making are kind of like bringing her out of her shell and making her realize that like her quirkiness, like her cold case mystery detective quirkiness, is not something to be ashamed of, because she feels ashamed about it. But maybe it just makes her interesting in who she is. Anyway, she meets Jane on the subway. And so the story is going to be here. I'm like 85 pages in and it hasn't really gotten into Jane's story yet. But like this is probably blurbed on the back, so it's not a spoiler or anything. But Jane is like stuck in time on the subway, and I think she's from the 1970s is what we are probably about to find out. August is actually going to see a psychic right now in the part that I'm reading. So I can see how like if you're not that I'm into that stuff, like I've never had a reading done, and I won't say that I put like a lot of stock in stuff like that, but I think it's like fun and entertaining and interesting. So yeah, some magical realism in this, but I think August is going to have to help Jane try to get off the train. I don't know what curse or fate has sealed Jane onto this train. Oh, also they like each other. This is a sapphic romance. So many different things. Like listen, I'm really liking this book, and I hope like the rest of it doesn't let me down, but 100 pages in and I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. So really enjoying One Last Stop. I'll probably just update you whenever I finish it, unless something profound happens that I need to talk about. But a super successful vlog so far. Hello, I'm here to wrap up this vlog reading some new releases. I recently finished Casey McQuiston's One Last Stop. I think I told you what this book was about. We have two girls. One is a current day girl. One is a girl from the 1970s. She is stuck on the subway. She's stuck on the Q train. And our present day girl, August, has to help our 70s girl, Jane, get unstuck from time. And I really liked this. So many people have seemed disappointed by it. I haven't read Red, White, and Royal Blue, Casey McQuiston's other really popular book, but I really liked this. Gave it a solid 4 stars. Probably the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was that it was a little long and it was a little ambitious. It was like 420 pages or so. So it did take me a little bit to get through, but I loved our plot. I loved our characters. I loved our characters. There are so many different characters and they are so interesting. At least they are to me. This is my opinion. This is my review. They were so interesting. They were so different. They had really specific interests that I really enjoyed. Like I'm talking, August has 3 roommates, each of them unique, different. August has friends that she works with at this pancake house. They're unique and different. She has a neighbor who is a drag queen. They're unique and different. I just really enjoyed all of this. But now, that is a lot of characters. And there are several different plots. Main plot, August has to help Jane get off the train. And our big thing there is that obviously they have fallen in love with each other and they don't know where Jane is going to end up when they get her unstuck. They are assuming that she'll go back to her time period of the 1970s. So they are dealing with that. That's the big thing. But also the pancake house where August works is closing and they're doing like a drag event fundraiser for it. And also August is trying to graduate college. She has like college hopped and is trying to graduate college. That's like a very low back burner thing. But also August's mom has been searching for her lost brother for like, and she has ensnared August into this private detective work too. So that's another big plot. There were just several plots, but I just really enjoyed this book. I had a great time. It made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like I said, I loved our characters. And I just really liked how this story went. I was satisfied with the ending. I would read books with the side characters in them. Really good, solid 4 stars. 4.25 even. But that will wrap up this vlog. I read 4 books, I think. I read Malibu Rising, a new favorite. I read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. Fine, good, gave it 4 stars. Liked the plot. I read Taylor Adams' new release, Hairpin Bridge. Least favorite book that I've read so far this year. Glad I read it. Was not a fave. Was actually a least fave. And then I read One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Really good. Enjoyed it a lot. So all in all, hopefully an entertaining reading vlog. I think I took you to meet some of my plants during it too. Let me know if you like plant content. I'm kind of thinking that, I don't know, we might repot some plants in a next vlog. But give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in a comment down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Let me know what I should read in my next vlog, and I will see you in my next one.